So we are ready now to start our web talk about market opportunities in Central America for textile machinery manufacturers from Germany. A warm welcome to everyone here from the chilly and snow-white Berlin. Well, a warm welcome to our guests from Germany, from the German textile machinery producers, and obviously to our expert speakers from 3 countries in Central America, from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. I'm very happy to have you here with us today. My name is Thomas Nütsch. I'm from SBS Systems for Business Solutions, and together with the WDMA, we are the host of this web talk today. I'm very happy to have here with me as host Mr. Boris Abatchiev from the WDMA Textile Machinery Association. I'm sure everyone knows you very well, and I'm very happy to have even our partner here represented. That is today Miss Sonja Baudrechsel from the German Chamber of Industry and Commerce for Central America and the Caribbean. That is the coordinating organization. And then we have colleagues from Sonja Baudrechsel, that is the regional project coordinator from the 3 country chambers, from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. And obviously our speakers that we will hear soon with detailed and insights about the current market situation in their countries. Just 2 words on the background of this webinar, web talk. It's part of an export promotion project that we are organizing on behalf of the German Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy. Some of you already know this program that is called Markterschließungsprogramm. We do that since 2012 with different missions, normally business delegations to foreign countries, to foster the export, the cooperation, the business for the textile machinery companies in foreign countries. The background of where we are here today, or why we are here today, is that in the end of this year, November, in the first days of December, we plan a roadshow, a Leistungsroadshow for a German delegation to Guatemala and Honduras, where you can present your technology, your innovations, and do business meetings, individual business meetings with potential customers. I will come with some more details to this point later on, but before we have the main focus of today's meeting here is getting information, insights in the market situation in these 3 countries. So now I'm happy to come to the hard facts. And first of all, a short welcome note from Boris Abatchiev from the WDMA. Please, Boris, I'm happy to have you here with us even in this project.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas, very much. I hope you can hear me.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very glad that also so many member companies and known faces have followed our invitation, and also that we have so many participants from Central America today who will show us the current market situation for the textile machinery industry. As you have mentioned, this kind of webinar is meant to be kind of kick-off meeting for our business mission, which will hopefully take place at the end of November this year. So then we will have the chance to meet us personally. And you also mentioned, Thomas, that we are using the program, the official program from the Federal Ministry of Economics in Germany, and we as WDMA Textile Machinery have been doing so since 2013. This was the first time we have done such a business mission to Myanmar, which would be difficult in these days. And but in the meantime, we also have had some missions, for example, to Colombia and also to Peru. And a number of company delegates have joined us, and they are here as well. So a warm welcome from my side. I'm also looking forward to the interesting presentations from the 3 textile associations and to the discussion afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boris. Now we even have Sonja Baudrexel with us. When I announced you before, Sonja, I think you have not yet been in the web talk. A warm welcome to you again. Sonja is a regional project coordinator from the German Chamber of Industry and Commerce for Central America and the Caribbean. She is our local partner, the local project coordinator in Central America, and I'm happy to have you here and would like to get your welcome words to us.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone in Germany, and morning to everyone on this side of the world. Welcome to our Sundowner webinar. It has been a few months since this has been in the works, and of course there's a lot more to come throughout the year, and then culminating in the roadshow end of November. Welcome everyone again. It is really, really nice to see you all here. Thank you to all the speakers who will be joining us today. Thank you, Boris, as well. Welcome. And then I would also like quickly to present, we have Ms. Andrea Obrock from our chamber in Guatemala, Raquel Trabanino, our chamber in El Salvador, and from Honduras, Dara Eraso. The textile and apparel sector is one of the key drivers in these 3 countries, of course, for economic development. And there has been over many years, of course, a lot of integration throughout the supply and production chains of this sector. It is a very dynamic sector, obviously, all of you know that. But Central America is definitely also ahead in many ways. Our key customer is, of course, the United States. Thank you in good measure to the distance of just a few transit days, of course, to the United States. But also thanks to the quality our countries have been able to deliver as well in all the manufacturing. Of course, all the countries' economies have been hit, like most economies around the world due to COVID-19. There is a heavy reliance on money transfers from family members living in the USA, for example, and of course, whatever impacts the US also impacts us. There have been some measures taken, and slowly economies are starting to recover. Important to mention, of course, as the whole context we're living in. I also wanted to mention that as part of this this event that starts today and then goes throughout the year with many different activities, the countries have also made some market analyses. Each one of the chambers worked on their own market, of course. Those will be made available in the near future. And those documents are really powerful. They are, of course, mainly directed to German companies who want to develop their markets here and understand more about the opportunities. But it is really each one of these studies is really relevant, I think, for any player in the market. Then lastly, of course, as is well known, of course, anyone who gets in very early with the contacts and makes use of this platform here today, for example, and then starts to get in contact with the partners that you're forming a relationship with, is going to have a foot in when opportunities arise. So we really encourage you to participate today. And of course, also look forward to having you participate in a roadshow at the end of November, beginning of December, which we really hope, for the sake of everyone, that we will be able to conduct as usual and not virtually. But even if it has to be virtual, we know it will be a success. So thank you very much again, and enjoy our sundowner. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia, for your warm words. We all hope that the situation becomes better even before the end of this year, not only for our roadshow, but for all of us and the health of all of us. Now we come directly to the hard facts and the markets. And the first one we are talking about, this is not a priority of some deeper thoughts, but it's just an alphabetical order: El Salvador, then Guatemala, and then Honduras. So the first country, El Salvador, will be presented by two speakers, Ms. Patricia Figuera and Javier Rosat. Ms. Figuera, Patricia, is from the Chamber of the Textile Industry, and then we have the General Manager from TEXMA, a company. Patricia, the stage is yours. We are looking forward to your presentation. You should unmute yourself.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you so very much for having us here today. It is indeed a pleasure to be able to share some of the data about our industry. What I would like to say, we have divided, as Thomas mentioned, our presentation in two. I will speak about the overall facts of our industry, where we are, what COVID has meant for us so far, what are the measures that the industry had taken during this pandemic, and what we see as, in general, the opportunities, challenges, and trends of the sector. And Javier will speak with a lot of knowledge more about the technical data that you may be interested in learning. He's also a member of our board of directors, and I'm very happy that he's here with us today. Let me start by saying that Camtex represents the textile, apparel, and free zone industry of El Salvador. It is three sectors in one. We bring together since 2005 more than 100 members, and this, even though the industry has a lot of more companies, these 100 members really account for more than 90% of the exports of El Salvador. Our membership is mainly large and medium-sized companies, and our organization is geared towards not only promoting the industry, but basically doing all the lobbying at the national and international level, representing our members and the sector interest. Who is here? Well, the industry, as you were, Sonja, mentioning rightly, the industry is a leading industry in Central America. It is indeed the leading industry in El Salvador. It is an industry with a long tradition for over 20 years. And it was born out of national companies. And lately it evolved, and I'm not going to talk about the industry evolution because it's worldwide, but we evolved from cut and sew operations under the CBI initiative towards a very sophisticated and vertically integrated association. Next, please. So in El Salvador, particularly, the industry that is vertically integrated, and this process began mainly after the CAFTA-DR agreement was signed in 2005-2006, where we were able to attract also a lot of foreign investors in two clusters, a cotton cluster and a synthetic cluster, which over the last 10 years has specialized in different types of products, and we will talk a little bit more about this as we evolve in our presentation. Next, please. So our value chain has been consolidating and has also been integrated towards more value-added products. And over the years, we have been strengthening our participation also in the US market. As of now, El Salvador has about 4% of the total market share, and we are number 10 producer. We are in the list where the 10th place in producer of apparel goods to the US. So that's where also Honduras and Guatemala rank in these 10 countries that provide most of the apparel goods to the US. Next, please, Angie. Please, next. So let me talk about what the sector means. We represent at this moment 38% of total exports of El Salvador. For the past 10 years, the sector has been more or less keeping this kind of percentage share. So we have been oscillating between 45%, and this is the lowest number that we have had. And I have to say that basically we closed 2020 with $600 million less in exports. However, we are confident on how we see the sector has begun to grow after the opening phase, and we will see the data. So if we see the closing, which we had in April, which is where we really came down and received the worst impact, we can also see how we started to recover our exports as soon as we opened. So that the country responded, it was resilient. The industry took advantage of the long time relationships, which we really have built over the years with our buyers. And as you can see, in December 2020, we have already more exports than in December 2019, which is also normal because we had a backlog of orders. I mean, I'm sure that the volatility of the industry, how the orders were placed, how we were able to respond had a big impact. But the country and the industry was capable of responding. And now at this stage, we're all fully operating. And next, please. We are all fully operating, and plants have adequated. They have all the biosecurity measures. The level of contagions is very low in the country, which, can you step back, please, Angie? So we have really been able to keep our industry afloat and are foreseeing a much better year 2021 for the industry. This is more or less the mix of our products. Mainly in synthetic, you will see sweaters, jackets. We have all the brands here, companies manufacturing for North Face, Adidas, Nike. So there's also, we have to understand that this is really an industry that mainly, I think over 90% exports go to the US. And the driver here has been the free trade agreement with the US. That has been the way that, and we have companies a mix of companies, from local companies, local mills, US companies. The value chain is fully integrated with the United States. A lot of US companies, Brazilian companies, and some very well-known Korean companies such as Youngwon, who does most of the sportswear. Our diversification from the basic cotton shirts, although this is an important segment in the moment, really was out of CAFTA in 2006, where we started attracting a lot of foreign direct investment in doing a lot of the sports, where we went into another niche of opportunity with synthetic fabrics, high performance fabrics, and other types of products that really gave a more value added. So mostly 60% of what the industry does, it's full package. It's all fully vertically integrated companies in a cluster that is also geographically positioned. So all companies are in a very close range, which is always of interest to our buyers. Next, please. What the companies did during the lockdown was basically to quickly reconvert to PPEs, product, medical equipment. And this was a short-lived trend for us, because as soon as the companies regained the capability of opening, they all went back immediately to the goods that they traditionally make. Let's next. So this is just some of the photographs of what we've done, how the companies are implementing all the measures. Next, please, Angie. And the use of technology is not new in El Salvador for these companies. You're talking about companies that do a lot of 3D printing, 3D design. And we also have to remember that the key advantage to these operations is their ability to respond, the speed to market, the ability that the companies have to respond to the clients in a better fashion than the Asian companies, because there is a direct competition, particularly with countries like Vietnam. So technology in all the sector, it's a part of the daily life of. They do a lot of 3D patterns design, and we can see some examples of what companies are doing here, like working with all these new technologies, high performance fabrics. Petenati is a Brazilian company that is one of the leading companies in the region in providing, because some of what it's done here, particularly in fabrics, is also exported to Central America. So there is some degree of integration also between our regions. Some companies that are here also have plants, operations in Honduras and Guatemala. Swisstex, I mean, the sustainability is also fairly ingrained. The world is moving forward towards sustainable fabrics. So there is a lot of interest. And also not only interest, a lot of demand from the brands that companies not only comply with social compliance, labor compliance, but sustainability now is another one of the key parameters that are being part of the brand demands. So companies like Unified that are working with recycled performance fiber, or TechSops, that is a company specialized in high-end yoga wear, also works with circular or wrap knitted fabrics that adapt to performance characteristics. So there is a lot of that. And in the future, we are hoping that El Salvador becomes also attractive to continue attracting this type of players to establish operations in high-end fabrics. There is a lot of potential in increasing our base of the industry in fabrics, and also in all the beginning of the chain, you know, because that will in turn attract definitely more apparel. So next, please. So, I mean, I know these are buzzwords and we were talking about it, but this is what the companies are looking at now. How do they have the more strict biosecurity measures to protect their operations, their workers' health? And that's top of mind, investing in technology, not only technology in the process, but technology in the relations. As some members were telling us, it's so difficult for them nowadays to establish all the relationships with the client, environmental sustainability, and of course, getting into the mainstream of e-commerce. So all the digital adaptation and online penetration is key also for our companies. Next, please, because I think I'm running out of time to hand it over to Javier. So
yes, should come to an end.
So I think I can leave it right there because basically this talk about our vision as an association. And I think with what I've shared with you, you at least will have some idea of what our industry is like. So with that, and so I don't take more time, I will hand it over to Javier. Thank you very much,
Patricia. Thank you very much. We directly go to the next presentation. That is another point of view on El Salvador from Javier Rosat from TEXMA. Please, Javier.
Hey, thank you. Hi to everyone. Thank you, Patty. Welcome first to the Deutsch-Regionalen Industrie and the Verband Deutsche Maschinen und Lagebau speakers and all the audience. First of all, as Patricia mentioned, I'm part of the board of directors of Camflex, and I'm also a director and owner of TEXMA Limitada, which is a company that works especially as agents for the textile machinery, accessory, and service. So most of our represented companies are in Europe. Therefore, there are some of the members of the VDMA that may be here that we also represent. So saying that, let's go to the first. I'm going to do like a very quick background of the textile industry in Central America and El Salvador. I'm going to mention both because the whole region has been related for many years, and it's also keeps being related nowadays. So in the beginning of the 1920s, there was first local small investments in Central America, especially in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Costa Rica. Most of them were in woven fabrics like shuttle looms, and some of also in spinning mills. In the mid 20th century, all of these countries experienced a first foreign capital investing in mills. Nicaragua started also having significant investment made, especially by government. Still focused in woven fabrics and spinning mills, but there was some terry towels that also appeared for the first time in the region. The availability of some of home knitted fabrics, small factories started producing practically in their homes. And by beginning of the 1990s, the first important apparel investments for exports were made, especially in Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Due to the high increase of apparel demand in the region, the textile industry gets stronger. Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras becomes a new investment target for the big retailers, especially in Honduras. Costa Rica and Nicaragua experienced also a little bit of setback. In Nicaragua, because of political situation, and Costa Rica because of the they focused in other industries such as the digital industry. So next, please. Since year 2000, constant investments in the major textile processes in Central America countries, excluding Costa Rica, has been achieved. Nowadays, Guatemala is well known as a vertical industry with all kinds of textile processes, with mainly investments, but also important part of Korean, Taiwanese, and American. El Salvador is more or less the same as Guatemala, but has more local American, Brazilian, and Korean and Taiwanese. Honduras is known especially for its large apparel industry, but also huge investments in textile coming from the most important American and Canadian retailers, but mainly in knitting, dyeing, and finishing. That means there is a less woven and there was less spinning. However, in the last year, the spinning capacity has also increased by some local and Salvadorian investments. Nicaragua is well known in their apparel, and the textile industry is very poor, but there has been some Chinese and Pakistan, especially in wovens and some spinning. Costa Rica is almost disappearing. They have only one investing in spinning mills. Saying that, I must mention that if you want to summarize the textile industry of El Salvador, let's go back to the other one. Just in numbers, I don't have them in a special chart, but I'm going to mention that the current composition of the textile industry in El Salvador is composed of more or less 300,000 spindles in ring spinning and opening. We have also about 580 weaving machines in normal woven and narrow fabrics and also terry fabrics. We have about 1,750 knitting machines in circular, flat, Rochelle, and narrow. Narrow is meant for elastics. And then we have about 215 dyeing machines. That means jets, batch dyeing, and continuous range dyeing. And then several finishing and printing, frame, cylinder, and digital printing. Go to the next one, please. So what are the investment trends in El Salvador? I try to present this chart. Maybe it's a little bit confusing at the beginning, but I tried to separate the last 3 decades so that you can see where the investments have been gone in which part of the sectors and how it has changed during the decades. So if you see the 1990s decades, that's the gray bar. You can see there was the numbers of the left side are the percentage of the investments, of the whole investments in the textile industry. So if you see in the spinning machinery, it started like 20% of the whole investments were being directed to spinning. Then woven was very strong at that moment. Knitting was not that strong. Dyeing it started also because woven needed at that time some machinery to be dye and finishing also. It's next to the dyeing and printing. We have some investments, and apparel. You can see that apparel, it was very important at that moment because it started with a big investments and big exports to the US. And the environmental, I put it there, it's not textile, but I put it there because it has a big influence also. It started very small in the 1990s. And then you can see the yellow bar in all the sectors, that's the 2000s. In spinning, it maintains more or less the volume The woven starts going down, the knitting going up, the dyeing and the finishing keeps more or less on the same level, the printing also. The apparel starts going down a little bit because there are a lot of used machinery coming into the market, not because of the growth of the industry, it's because of the machinery coming on the market, and the environmental starts playing a significant role in the whole industry. And in the last decades, you can see the spinning has grown, the woven has gone down, but the knitting has gone up. The dyeing and finishing more or less the same. It keeps the same levels, printing also, and the apparel goes a little bit down because it's still coming a lot of used machinery in the market. And there were some important companies that shut down because of several issues in the last 10 years. And the environmental has grown a lot because the brands, especially the brands, are demanding to the industry to invest a lot in environmental. Go to the next. This is some textile machinery and the countries of origin. I'm not going to mention every one of them, but you can see by sector more or less where are the machinery coming from. I'm not going to mention also any brands of any certain machinery, but you all know your own companies, and you can see that Germany is almost in all of the sectors. Is less in apparel and less in some printing, but otherwise is almost in all sectors. Go to the next. And that's my last one. That's trends for the future. I gotta start by saying that first of all, there is a lack of textile goods in the region. That means that the apparel industry is demanding more than what the textile industry can deliver. So saying that, there is also a big increase expected of yarn investments in the region because of the demand. And we can see that which kind of yarns: cotton blends, short staple yarn, filament yarns. There were already some investments, but there's still a lack of it. Most of it is being imported. PET recycled fibers, that's also a trend. And recycled fibers, fiber yarns, and also a process of recycled fibers. That would mean fibers coming from recycled apparel waste and even garment. And then you can see that all of that brings to the knitted fabrics with recycled yarns, knitted fabric for sports and activewear, efficient dyeing, finishing processes, and less water treatment plants, and water use, and of course solar energy and all of kind of environmental new technologies that the region can have. That would be my presentation. I don't know, maybe at the end, if someone has questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you very much, Javier and Patricia, for your interesting outlook and overview of not only your country, so actually of the whole region. I think we are a little bit over the time, so I would suggest that we go on with the next speakers, because I'm sure they can't wait to give their perspectives and insights. I just got the information that from the side of Guatemala, it will be Lucia Palacios from the Vestex Association that will give us the presentation about the current market situation. So Lucia, please. And well, we will sum up the questions, your questions, at the end of the next two input presentations, obviously. Lucia, we can't still hear you. We still can't hear you. We can see your screen. So Lucia probably is deciding in which language she should talk. She told me before that she studied in Switzerland, so probably she's deciding between German and English. But I'm not sure if there's a technical problem. Lucia?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can share your presentation if you want to. Maybe that works.
Hello?
Hello, Lucia. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, yes. You can hear me?
Yes. Should I share your presentation?
No, I have it here. I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Guten Tag to all of you.
Yeah, now it works.
Yeah, yes. Sorry.
Perfect.
Technical problems.
No problem.
I will do it very quickly. I know we're running out of time.
Thank
I'm
you.
sharing my screen. Everyone can. Oh, sorry. It's not going through there. Okay, so we are the Apparel and Textile Association, and as you can see, it's the same as Patty, and I'm sure Honduras, we represent the whole industry, the whole sector, and not only national, but international as well. We have services and compliance tools that we promote within our partners and our companies. We have commercial opportunities, and we also have an academy which gives training to all the industry. Just an overview, quick overview of Guatemala's economic data. We have a population of almost 18 million people. The GDP per capita is $3,690. We export 11 million products, mainly, of course, to the US, and we import almost $20 million into our market. The economy diversification, and you will see that we have a very diverse country. We have manufacturing, and that's where this industry falls. And the GDP growth, or expectant of the GDP growth during 2020, if you can see here, these are not the final numbers, but it was a negative 1.5. And the first scenario, it would be 2.5 if we are really optimistic for 2021. And I'm a little bit more modest, and 4.5. Now for the apparel industry in Guatemala, we have an impact of almost 9% to the national GDP. The industry has around 180,000 direct and indirect jobs. Almost half of them are women. And our industry, it's, as Patty and Honduras will tell you, and Javier, we are we have a very integrated supply chain. Not only apparel manufacturers or textile mills, but we also have accessories, services, and everything that comes with agents and everything that you should see in a garment. So we have a very well integrated supply chain within the Central American region that we will see later on. Now, regarding textile mills, that's the area that you are very interested in. We have around 15 spinning mills, 21 knitting mills. They all mix, okay? The spinning mill can do knitting or weaving. It's not that we have 15 plus 21 plus 14. They interact with each other. 14 weaving companies, 8 doing warp knits, and dyeing and finishing, especially in both, not only fabric, but also garment dyeing and finishing. The recent investments, as Javier mentioned in his presentation, has been in synthetic machinery products. And here in Guatemala, it would be mainly because of expansion of the area in Ringspoon, for example, or the transfer of their location to a closer integrated cluster in a specific area. So that's where they have been able to reinvest in their company. The cost efficient this is a cost efficient industry. It's driven by cost because we are competing by global suppliers, of course. And the leaders of our textile mills industry, they prefer, of course, European machinery, and of course, German machinery is well known. This is how our industry is integrated, or the mix of production. As you can see, our main production is knit tops, not only for women, men, and children, but also cotton, 100% cotton, or 95.5, for example, but all the way to 100% synthetic. And we have also baby wear, dresses. The other area which we are pretty good, that unfortunately it has gone down a little bit because of the COVID and the low demand of office clothes, would be trousers, synthetic trousers for women, and jackets and skirts, of course. But we have hosieries as well, and underwear. As we have mentioned before, 90% of our companies are Korean owned. They saw an opportunity around 30 years ago, they tell me. And almost 90% of our production is knit, and the other 10% or 11, it's woven. This is our main products of the country. And as you can see, apparel and textiles are the main export products of Guatemala, and it's 15% of our country's whole export products. This is an historic production. As you can see, we've been increasing the size of the industry in the last few years. And of course, CAFTA had a big effect on it. Our main production is mainly to the USA, but as mentioned before, Central America is also one of our main markets, because you would have to comply with CAFTA rules and send raw material. For example, our main exports to Central America would be to Nicaragua in fabric, dyed fabric, not only cotton, but synthetic as well. Some yarn to Honduras and El Salvador as well. So these, if you put together, it's almost 90%, more than 90% goes back to the US. Some 16% in raw material to Central America, and 77% to the US as garments. So this has been the impact that COVID has had on us, and of course the whole global industry. And as I have put here, world, this means the amount of in dollars that US imports from the world. So as you can see, you have like a media. If you want to put it like that, we have an up and down. And Guatemala, thank God, everyone has been impacted, but it has been less impacted than other countries in the world. And we in Guatemala and Nicaragua, in US value, have been less than 15% low in their exports to US. And this I'm talking to US exports, right? And here you have the average price of square meters equivalent. As you can see, Guatemala, as well as Sri Lanka, for example, or Jordan, they have a higher price, not to mention that the products are expensive, but the value added, it's almost 54%. So we do a lot of finishing in the garments that we produce. For example, our main brands or main retailers, if you want to narrow it down to 6, would be Walmart, Target, Kohl's, Nike, Fanatics, and Gap Old Navy. So those, you can see the mix of our retailers and brands. And this is how we see ourselves in the global world, not within the 10 first suppliers. We are around the 13 or 14th. And this is how the impact of the COVID has been into China, for example, and to other countries. This is where Guatemala is, where you can see there's a smaller impact. Sorry about that. And this is how the behavior or the development of our industry in this region in Latin America has been for the past 12 months. As you can see, November was a very, everyone went down in November, but December, El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala are giving it a kick up with their exports in December. It got better, as Patty mentioned as well. And here, for example, this is a historical of our top categories where we can see where we have more opportunity in regards of investment. There, with all this that has happened in the past year, you can see a lot of, you can hear a lot of nearshoring, and we are optimistic into the coming 3 or 4 years will be a changing and a transformation of our industry regarding machinery, regarding technology, regarding more investments. So that this is where we see more. As you can see, the two even though the knit tops mainly for women in cotton are our biggest exports, we can see an opportunity in these two categories, or in this category, which is trouser in synthetic. So these have had a constant, a sustainable growth the past few years, and that's where we see a lot of investment going on. So we are the 5th supplier in women's synthetic tops to the US, and in men's, we are the 6th among the world. The import tax is 0% when you meet CAFTA's requirement, saving around 28 to 35% entering the US. And pre-COVID, you know, there was a trend of athleisure or sportswear, and COVID has impacted it into 33% more of this demand. And the latest investments of the region, as I mentioned before, have been in synthetic raw material. So we're hoping to have this type of investments in the years to come, mainly synthetic. Thank you. That would be all for me.
Thank you very much, Lucia Palacios, for your not only staying in time, but your very interesting numbers and insights. And as we did before, I would prefer to go on with our last presentation on the current market situation in Honduras from Maria Benaton, and then we directly come to your questions. So please be prepared and don't run away. First we hear Maria Benaton from the Honduran Maquila Association about the Honduran market. Maria,
Yes,
please.
Good morning, good afternoon to everybody, and thank you so much for the German Chamber of Commerce coordination for putting this together on our side. A special word of thanks to DADA in Honduras. And since our sister organizations from El Salvador and Guatemala delved in quite efficiently on the regional aspect, a special word of thanks to Javier for setting the stage. I have on the fly tried to adjust some things so as not to repeat. So we have divided our presentation into an insight, general snapshots, a word or two about the COVID-19 impact, how we have been reinventing ourselves as an industry, and how we are innovating and pivoting to grow, and a couple of words and comments on the perspectives considering the market trends. Both Patricia and Lucia alluded to that, so there will be a little bit of a repetition, but here's a little snapshot of the Honduran industry. So we have 324 membership, and it's the whole supply chain. Textile apparel includes inputs, logistics, the contribution to the Honduran economy, as in Guatemala and in El Salvador. It's one of the main drivers of the economy. And also it has proven to be resilient in the past, and it has also proven to be quite resilient now in the midst of the pandemic. So it employs around 170,000 workers. Exports in the last decade have oscillated between 2.8 and 3.8 billion annually. And there has been an accumulated investment in infrastructure specifically of around $3.1 billion. Honduras is the 8th largest supplier to the US market. It's mostly basic and sportswear at leisure. It's the #2 supplier of the knit shirts. And this is going back a little bit to what Lucia was mentioning about the shift that we have had from, not a shift, but the increase of synthetics for sportswear. And one of the factors that is a facilitator and a driver is the trade agreements that grant us a preferential access to the US, to the Canadian, and to the European markets, among others. So pre-COVID, we were on a growth trend, and it was steadily increasing our exports. And that obviously changed with the disruption that came through the pandemic. But within these increases of exports, there's also the investment that went into the sector in order to have the resulting increases. As you can see, 3.8 billion in 2019. This year, 2020, is likely to be down around $900 million. And this includes everything: the US market, the regional market, European market. As mentioned by our colleagues, as Honduras, we're the #8 supplier to the US. We represent around 3% of the imports, but together the CAFTA countries represent around 9%. So as a region, and also because we also negotiated with Europe as a region, to the United States, we would qualify as the 3rd largest supplier if we put all our exports to the US together. And it's a little less, but exports to the EU. So there is, as I mentioned, even though it's less, within Europe, Germany is our main trade partner. And both ways, in imports and in exports. Imports are mostly machinery, dyes, and ink. Historically, as the rest of Central America, we had been known for cotton, knits, and basic wear, but we have increased our man-made fiber synthetic apparel exports. As you can see, in volume, it has increased around 25%, but in value, which means that there's more added value to the garment, we have more than doubled. So we are the largest supplier to the 2nd largest supplier to the US of sports shirts. That's the knit shirts for men and boys. We're also in the top 10 category for women's, for cotton shirts. It's mostly tops. So this synthetic yarn actually now is produced within the region. There are operations in El Salvador, but there's a relatively recent one that opened in Honduras, and a textile mill that will be soon opening up in April. So that means that everybody is ramping up to supply the market, which is largely the United States. And here I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Javier said, that the market demand is greater than what the region can supply. So as China is lowering its exports to the US, that big chunk of lowering, that piece of pie is going to other countries, and we're competing for that share. And that's where the investment comes in. So by sector, our breakdown, it's 142 manufacturers. We have 21 textile mills, 17 industrial parks. And I share this data because, as is the case in El Salvador, we do represent the special processing zones. So, and they're mostly located in the northern part of Honduras because of the port. So that's where the cluster is within the country. And that's the region where most of the development goes on because of the proximity to the port. As I said earlier, accumulated investment in industrial parks, in infrastructure, it's around a little bit over 3 billion in the past decade. And we represent a substantial part of the GDP, 7% directly, 29% indirectly. So the industry has sway. The origin of this investment is mostly Honduran, followed by the United States. And we have 6 AHM members who originate in Germany. One of them is for the textile covers that go in the cars, but they're also in a couple of machinery representations and ink and dye providers. As you can see, I've shown you several pictures of aerial visuals of the parks, because this pretty much complements what Patricia, what Javier, and what Lucia were saying, this move towards sustainability. Slowly but surely, everybody has been shifting or adding solar panels. So if you take aerial views of our zones, you're going to see them covered with that. Then you can see a water treatment plant. So all of this trend is accelerating due to COVID. It was already going on, but the disruption of COVID just accelerated it. And now the companies and the infrastructure parks that were prepared, they are actively and aggressively moving to attract investment because the outlook is positive. The resilience and the recovery have been consistent in the sector, which means that in the case of Honduras, at least, it's going to be one of the drivers of recovery in the coming 2 years, because we're able to jump back quicker than, say, some of the agriculture sector, better than the tourism sector. So as you can see, more aerial views of how, number one, we are trying to be more efficient with the energy. It's, as a matter of fact, not only to please the brands, but also it's a cost saving, a cost reduction strategy. And the other point that we try to prove with this image, it's since we as an institution promote investment in this sector, is the capacity for expansion. You see industrial parks and they're surrounded by a lot of land where you can expand your investment, buildings, facilities. The other aspect, and both of my colleagues, the sister associations, referred to it, is proximity to market is one of the, it's if not the best strategic advantage that we have, particularly because of the acceleration in e-commerce. Nowadays, you buy online, people expect their product to arrive within 2 days max. That's pretty much how long it takes for a garment to fly into the United States. You can have direct from a producer or from warehouse or from distributor to consumer, which is a trend that actually points towards countries in Central America as a very good option in order to supply the US market. So we often compare how long it lasts to ship our product, our garments, and we actually are pretty competitive. Mexico is right besides the US, so can't beat that one, but close. And one of our major points within the industry, because the industry itself and the growth of the industry that brings us back to the demand for machinery also depends on how we are integrated. And the port is a huge part of that in Honduras. And there's a strong presence of German shipping lines. or representatives and shipping companies. And Puerto Cortés serves also products from Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. And it's one of the largest deep sea ports. As you can see, that's the reason why the companies are based geographically where they're based is because of the port, because it's near. So you have a short 40-minute drive. Fridays, you have all the containers going to Puerto Cortés from places like Choloma. There's a lot of development. So this facilitates the growth. So together with government initiatives, together with other partners, we try to establish collaborations. And the collaborations are not only specific to particular aspect of the operation, but more comprehensive. Here, the fact that we are regionally integrated, and that you could probably guess at how similar our presentations are, is the fact that the Northern Triangle, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, we all share our borders, but this also has a lot to do with the integration of the sector itself. Daily, you have a trade on textile and apparel, cut pieces, and inputs within the region. You have Honduran cut pieces going back and forth, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras to Nicaragua. So this has generated even more integration within us. So the customs union that is meant to be, and it's being worked on for all of Central America, the more engaged parties are the Northern Triangle countries. As to the impact of COVID, you can see it clearly in our exports. This is data up to this September from our central bank. And it's pretty much going to hold until the end of the year, because even though the sector itself had recovered in October, the month of October compared to the month of in 2019 was superior in 2020. We were hit by a couple of hurricanes, which did have an impact in our exports. So what happened during the pandemic, our operations, they were challenged. Preventive measures were applied. There were mobility restrictions, but the sector, the industry, was classified under the essential operations category with the safety protocol implementation. Patricia illustrated that very clearly. And then the other aspect, the other side of the coin, was a decrease in the demand of most apparel categories. There was a stark reduction of the exports, which I already showed you, but there was a surge in PPE demand. So as other countries, we reinvented ourselves, and that was thanks to the agility that our industry has and the partnerships. Patricia mentioned these partnerships, and these partnerships transcend because time and geography, because all of these relationships that have been built since all of the initiatives from the CBI, from CAFTA, from all the things that we do together as countries, and as sectors as well, contribute to this quick turnaround. So the part of the innovation in order to pivot and grow was you had to adapt to the prevention controls. We went remote a lot more quickly than we had intended. Digitalization in terms of dealing with our customers, dealing with our suppliers, and also very quickly looking how to optimize our operation costs and our performance. Sustainable initiatives that came from several years now, but it's just got accelerated because of the situation. One of the main points being energy, but also water, waste management, recycling, designing for trying to be circular. You're not going to go from a linear model to a circular model from one day to another. But the most important thing was the partnerships, and also looking at the market trends that are being accelerated. And if you look around the world, it all points to is that there will be more market for what we produce. We just have to adapt to this demand. So as Lucia mentioned, athleisure, which actually, before they used to say, well, Central America, you know, you only do basics, and you're slowly changing. Right now, that capacity that we had to make sportswear and the innovation that has been introduced makes us very competitive in this sector. And the e-commerce trend, you have this explosion of e-commerce, which reinforces our advantage for market proximity, particularly to the US, and this shift in consumer behavior. So what do? We capitalize on our geographical proximity to the market. That means that there's a lot of demand for systems, for integrating system, not yet in blockchain, but I imagine, you know, everything points that there will be a movement in that direction. The cost competitiveness and collaboration, intersectoral alliances. So here I would like to take a little time for parentheses, because if you are thinking from the perspective of a supplier, it is always better, you know, to be part of something larger. For example, yes, Germany is very much well known for its machinery, but Germany is also very well known for its vocational training initiatives. So, you know, that's something that's always burgeoning and of interest to our member companies. And I'm going to stop there, because if you have any further questions or you would like to peruse, I invite you either to reach out to us. I have a colleague here in the audience, Astrid Barnica. If you can type your email on the chat. You can download our app for iDirectory. That's where the classification of the companies are. You can reach our website, or you can reach out directly to us. We will be more than happy to elaborate more on anything that might be of interest to you. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share this information about the maquila sector in Honduras.
Thank you very much, Maria, for this very dynamic and interesting insights and the connections you already created to your neighbor countries and the other speakers. I am sure that there are a lot of questions from our audience. There are topics that you have mentioned about the trends. I think they are not so surprisingly, but they are interesting for the companies here. So please, I would like to open the stage for questions to our speakers. Just unmute yourself and talk. It's quite easy. Boris, okay.
Maybe I make the icebreaker. Thank you very much for all 4 presenters. Very, very interesting what you have shown to us. I think this also gives us, it's a confirmation when we have decided to go to Central America with this business mission. This was exactly also one reason. You mentioned the proximity to the United States, and that your region will take benefit out of the current situation. And you all mentioned some keywords, and maybe I can also answer this also on behalf of our members. You mentioned the need for sustainable production, for example, even also recycled yarns, which was just yesterday one of our topics of our web talks. Of course, the digitalization, which is, well, a very important trend in our industry. Of course, cost efficiency, and also I would say vocational training. All these aspects you mentioned, I would say these are very well covered by our member companies for many, many years. They are no newcomers in your market. Many of them are already present in your market for decades, also with partners, with their agents. And also with regards to vocational training, Maria, you just mentioned it. Well, we plan also to hold a kind of symposium in Honduras and in Guatemala, and of course the textile mills in El Salvador are mostly welcome to join. And this is a first step of a vocational training. And of course, I know from our members that the best training is already done directly at the machine. So when it comes really to a good training, then this will be shown at the machine, either on site or also at the research and technical centers in Germany, for example. Well, so thank you very much. And now I would also like to ask our members to raise their questions about the presentations and the markets.
Yeah, we have one question here from Benjamin Schnabel in our chat. Is there, I'm going to read it, okay? Is there any governmental incentive for the companies for using energy efficient or eco-friendly technologies? So this is, just feel free who wants to start from the three countries. So is there any governmental incentives for energy efficient production or technologies? Patricia, yeah, just unmute yourself and talk.
Yeah, we do have legislation that was passed a couple of years ago regarding the renewable energy law. I'm not 100% knowledgeable of the type of incentives if it provides, but there are certainly incentives in that legislation. So we can share with you the legislations if you're interested, but that is for renewable energies.
If I may add,
particularly the solar panel energy. Javier?
yes, if I may add something to what Patricia said, that's all regarding the environmental and alternative energy. But if you're looking at, or if the question was regarding the textile investment in machinery related to recycled fiber or fabrics or something else similar to this, this is not being incentivized by the government, and I think it's not being incentivized by any government in Central America, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Maybe Boris. Another question also with regards to energy. I mean, I know Mr. Schnabel, he represents the company Bruckner Textile Technologies, which is involved in finishing. And the finishing process is very much energy intensive. So can you maybe say something about the energy prices and also the availability of energy in your region? As this is, of course, also a very important factor for the production and for investments.
Yes. Here in Guatemala, again, as Javier mentioned, there is no incentive from the government. But Guatemala has, I was looking for the document because I don't recall, Guatemala has a very competitive price regarding energy. It's around 8 cents per kilowatts. I'm not an expert on energy, but here you can, in Guatemala, you can negotiate depending on your use as a big user. And then you're able to negotiate your price regarding the need of energy that your plant will have. As far as I know, Guatemala has the lowest price on energy, and it's on the region, and exports energy through the region. But as far as I know, there, as Javier mentioned, there is no incentive. We have the, the environment ministry here. You have to have a environmental law, the water treatment plants. It's a must for anyone that has a company above 11 persons working on it. So you have to make an environmental study and a water treatment depending on the type of course, depending on the type of company you have. If it's a finishing and dyeing, of course, it will be higher, the price, of course. And if it's only apparel manufacturing, it will be lower, but it will depend on the costs of the nature of the company that we'll be setting up.
Okay, if I may, maybe illustrate a little bit of what goes on in Honduras with regards to how our industrial parks operate. And it's one of the competitive advantages when you're competing for clients, because since we also represent the free zones, there's always this competition and energy prices are an issue. So what the sort of like the owners of the park, the real estate, what they do is that they install energy facilities within their perimeters in order to offer a better deal to the clients that are within that free zone. So also you, as in the other cases, there's no specific incentive, but depending on the nature of the investment, there can be cases where you can negotiate some sort of incentive. If you are an energy company that is going to operate within a free zone, you are under that regime, which means that you get all those benefits, which are sort of tax-free in many senses, and there are also other privileges, but that is, you have to qualify for that regime. It's not as if you come here, you set up the company, then what you have to do is incorporate yourself into that regime in order to apply for those benefits. Now, in Honduras, all of the energy generation has to be, for the time being, sold. It has to pass through the government company. But still, as such, if you have, we have many of our member companies who have made significant investments in biomass, and also, as you saw in the pictures, solar panels are the thing that's kind of like the quickest way to apply. But there are also other forms that qualify under the free zone law. But that's a conjunction. So if you want to do that specifically, please, we can supply more information, because we have a person who deals directly with our legal department that deals directly with the benefits for the free zone. So thank you.
I think it's similar, the case in El Salvador. So we are about 11 to 14 cents per kilowatt. Our energy is more expensive in that regard. So that's a challenge for us. However, as Maria is also indicated, there are lots of modalities, and there are also the free zones, some of the free zones that are operating and providing energy to the users. Also, if you have more specific questions, we'll be glad to ask, but that's as a general.
Okay, thank you very much. You just mentioned the right word. If there are any other specific questions, you always come back to us, and we can treat the questions and the concerns directly with the AHK colleagues or with our expert speakers. Before we stop now, and I will show you just in two slides the rough overview of the roadshow. Is there a last question here in the round? I don't think so, actually, because I gave you a lot of time to do the question. So I will share the screen, my screen, to you in this moment to give you an idea what is our context, what has been our context. That has been the project from the ministry, where we have the roadshow to Central America that is co-organized and financed by the BMWI, by the German Ministry of Economic Affairs. We do that together with the ViewDMA and the chambers of commerce in the 3 countries we are talking about. You know that. lots of you of the companies that are here in this web talk know the Geschäftsanbahnung as a business mission. In the roadshow, we have a focus more on technical aspects, but it's the same moment we have a strong focus on networking and to bring you in contact with the potential customers. So this is the same, more or less the same way of presenting yourself and showing your solutions for the changes we have heard about today in the market, for the shift that is happened due to COVID, but not only. The objectives are creating business together, business helping the German technology and companies to offer their products, their innovations in your countries, but in the same way to give your companies in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras the products, the solutions they need to be competitive in the market. Therefore, we do technical symposiums to show the technology. We will create individual B2B meetings and technical visits in your companies. We will supply technical market information and all that you may know. For more details, you get information from us on this opportunity. And obviously, you may ask, is that possible to go to Guatemala, to Central America in the end of this year? The costs for that are roughly about 90% co-financed or financed by the German government. What the cost that remained for the participating German company is, if we do a trip from between 500, 750 and 1,000 euros, and if we in the end will not be able to do it in a physical trip, it will be a digital realization. There you have the possibility to hop off the project, to cancel your participation without any costs. Otherwise, you get it to the half price. This is everything. You get that information more detailed in the information we give to you. And at this point, I even will stop the rough overview. We will come back to you from the WDMA side and from our side with information about this webinar. That means the presentations where you can download them, with more information about the markets, because we will produce in the next weeks a market study, a current market study of the textile industry in Central America. This is part of the roadshow, and you will get even the information about the roadshow. That is the time, the moment for me to say thank you to our speakers, to the organizers, the ladies from the chamber, the chambers of commerce in the 3 countries, to Sonia. Another person that is very important to mention is obviously Boris Abachir from the WDMA that hosted that. Sonia Baudrexel, that is today here for Olga Maria Browns. Thank you very much to our listeners, to our companies that have been interested and until the end of this event. And well, I hope to get a good feedback from you and interest in participating in this roadshow to South America. Stay safe. Thank you very much for this round, and hope to see you soon on a trip in a healthy country, and that is a little bit more sunny than the cold thing that we have here. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.